It was supposed to be the trip of their lives. A dream honeymoon after a long, exhausting wedding. Emma and Daniel had been together for nearly a decade, their love surviving every hardship life threw at them. Now, as they drove down the winding mountain roads of northern Spain, they were ready to begin their new chapter, just the two of them. The golden sunset painted the sky as Daniel smiled, squeezing Emma's hand. Their destination, a hidden gem, a restored 17th century inn, La Posada del Silencio, perched on the edge of a quiet village that barely appeared on the map. "I still can't believe you found this place," Emma whispered, her voice filled with excitement but laced with a tinge of nervousness. "It's like too perfect." Daniel chuckled. "That's the whole point. No tourists, no crowds, just us, baby. A place with history, silence, and charm. You'll love it." They didn't notice how quickly the vibrant colors of the sunset faded into a gray, suffocating dusk. Nor did they see the villagers staring from cracked windows as their car rolled through the narrow cobblestone streets. The world seemed to grow quieter with every mile. By the time they arrived, night had settled like a thick curtain. The inn loomed before them, an ancient, towering stone building with a faded wooden sign swinging violently in the cold wind. A chill slid down Emma's spine. "It looks older than in the pictures," she muttered. Daniel laughed it off. "That's the charm, right?" But even he couldn't ignore the unsettling stillness surrounding the place. No cars, no sounds, no lights except for a single dim bulb flickering by the heavy oak door. They rang the bell. Seconds passed, then minutes. Just as Daniel was about to ring again, the door creaked open. An old man stood there, hunched, his face pale and expressionless. "Welcome to La Posada del Silencio," he rasped. "We've been expecting you." The words hung in the air longer than they should have. Emma blinked. "Expecting us?" she repeated with a forced smile. "That's nice." The old man didn't smile back. Instead, he gestured them in with a trembling hand. The air inside smelled of dust, damp stone, and something else, something metallic and faintly sweet. It was colder than outside. Their room was on the top floor. The narrow wooden staircase groaned under their weight as they climbed, every step echoing like a warning. The old man stayed silent, his hollow eyes watching them from below. The room was larger than expected, yet it felt suffocating. The furniture was antique, beautiful but heavy, dark, oppressive. A grand four-poster bed dominated the room, its thick velvet curtains faded and torn. On the wall, a large cracked painting of a family stared down at them, faces pale, eyes hollow. Emma shivered. "I don't like this, Danny," she whispered that night as they lay in bed. "Something feels wrong." Daniel pulled her close, kissing her temple. "It's just the atmosphere. Old places have that vibe, you know." Emma nodded but couldn't shake the feeling. In the middle of the night, she woke to whispers, soft, unintelligible voices bleeding from the walls. She sat up, her heart pounding. "Daniel, did you hear that?" Daniel groaned in his sleep, turning away. Emma held her breath, straining to hear. But the room was silent. Too silent. Morning came like a relief. Sunlight struggled through the grimy windows, barely illuminating the room. Emma felt drained, like she hadn't slept at all. At breakfast, they found the old man waiting, his pale hands clutching a pot of bitter, overbrewed coffee. "You slept well, I hope?" he asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer. Daniel forced a laugh. "Of course." Old buildings, creaky floors, adds to the experience, right? The old man didn't laugh. Some things here are older than the building itself, he said cryptically, his milky eyes locked on Emma. They decided to explore the village, needing to shake the unsettling aura of the inn. But as they walked, Emma noticed something odd. No one greeted them. People turned away, avoiding eye contact, hurrying inside and slamming doors. One old woman, hunched and wrinkled like the earth itself, made the sign of the cross as they passed. Emma frowned. "What the hell is wrong with these people?" she whispered. Daniel shrugged. "Maybe they're just traditional." But even he didn't sound convinced. That evening, back at the inn, curiosity gnawed at Daniel. He explored the hallways while Emma napped. One narrow corridor led to a door that seemed out of place. Newer wood, a modern lock. Strangely, it wasn't locked. Daniel's heart pounded as he pushed it open. Inside, the air was colder, heavier. The room was small, windowless. Candles, some still half burnt, lined the walls. In the center, a worn leather chair faced a cracked mirror. The smell of metal was strong here, coppery, almost bloody. On the walls were carvings, names, dates, scratched deep into the stone. Some dates were centuries old. Daniel's breath caught when he saw the last name carved, Emma, and the date. Today's date. A loud creak behind him made him spin around, but no one was there. Shaken, Daniel backed out, slamming the door shut. He didn't tell Emma, not yet. That night, the whispers returned, louder, angrier. Emma woke screaming, claiming she saw a figure in a mirror, a woman in black, her eyes hollow, her mouth twisted in agony. "I'm not crazy, Daniel. She was there." Emma sobbed, clutching his arm so tightly it hurt. Daniel's face was pale. "We're leaving, tomorrow, I swear." But the inn wouldn't let them go so easily. Their car, immobilized, the battery dead. The old man appeared behind them, smiling for the first time. "Leaving so soon, but the night is young, and you haven't heard her story yet," Emma snapped. "What the hell is going on here? Who is she?" The old man's smile widened. "My daughter, betrayed by a lover on her wedding night, in this very room. She still waits, you know. For him, for anyone, to finish what was started, trapped. They had no choice but to spend one more night." Emma refused to sleep, sitting upright, staring at the mirror. At exactly midnight, the air grew colder, thick with whispers. The mirror clouded. A face appeared, a young woman, her veil torn, her eyes leaking black tears. "Help me," she mouthed. Emma screamed. Daniel grabbed her, trying to pull her away. But the reflection of the woman turned to him, her mouth opening impossibly wide. A scream, deafening, filled the room. And then, silence. They woke up outside, lying in the grass, the sun rising. La Posada del Silencio was gone. Just rubble, overgrown with weeds. A lone villager approached, staring at them in horror. You were in the inn. But that place burned down 50 years ago." They never spoke of what truly happened. The official story, an accident, a mistake. But sometimes, late at night, Emma wakes screaming, claiming she sees the woman in their bedroom mirror. Daniel can't sleep without lights on anymore. And the worst part, that name, Emma, still scratched into the back of his mind. And sometimes, on the bathroom mirror, written in fog. They had no reason to feel afraid. Not yet. It was meant to be the trip of a lifetime. After all, Mark and Evelyn had waited for this moment longer than most couples. Middle-aged, seasoned by life's harsh lessons, their wedding hadn't been grand. No, it was small, intimate, just the way they wanted it. But the honeymoon, that was their reward. A week of peace, away from the noise, the obligations, the children from past marriages, just the two of them, in a house by the cliffs of southern Spain. The kind of place that looked too perfect in the photos to be real. Mark still remembered the ad. A secluded coastal home overlooking the vast Mediterranean. Timeless charm, modern comfort, total privacy. The photos showed a stone house, aged but proud, perched dangerously close to a jagged cliff. Endless blue waters stretched beyond it, as if the sea itself guarded their retreat. It had been expensive, more than they could afford, really. But wasn't that what honeymoons were for? The drive there had been beautiful. Olive groves on both sides, sleepy villages, the golden Spanish sun painting everything with a warm glow. Evelyn laughed more during that drive than she had in years. God, it was good to hear her laugh again. They had no way of knowing that was the last time they'd feel truly at ease. They arrived late afternoon. The house was everything the photos promised, maybe more. Thick stone walls, a red-tiled roof, heavy wooden doors. It oozed history. Evelyn was the first to notice the air smelled different, almost metallic, but she shrugged it off. Sea air, I guess, she said, forcing a smile. The host, a tall, wiry man named Luis, met them at the gates. His English was perfect, but his eyes never really looked at them. He gave them the grand tour, pointing out the original 18th century beams, the stone fireplace, the cellar. Nobody uses the cellar, he chuckled awkwardly. It's just storage. They nodded, not caring much. They were in love, and the house was perfect. What more could they want? But as the sun set, an odd chill settled over the place. Mark laughed it off, making some joke about ghosts in old Spanish villas. Evelyn smiled, tightly, because if she was honest, she already felt it. Something wasn't right. Night fell faster than they expected. One moment, the sky was painted in oranges and reds, and the next, it was black, a kind of black Mark hadn't seen in years. No streetlights, no neighboring houses, just darkness pressing against the old windows. The sound of the sea crashing against the cliffs below became louder, somehow more menacing. They tried to settle in. Wine, soft music, even laughter, but it felt forced. Evelyn stared too long at the large wooden beams overhead, her wine glass resting untouched. "It's funny," she whispered, "how quiet it is. Almost like the house is waiting for something." She laughed nervously after, as if realizing how strange it sounded. Mark tried to brush it off. "You're just spooked. It's the first night, new place. It messes with your head." But even he felt it, that strange sensation of being watched, like the walls themselves carried memories they weren't ready to share. When they finally crawled into the massive old bed, the sheets felt cold, damp even. Mark mumbled something about stone houses retaining cold, but his voice lacked conviction. Evelyn didn't answer. She lay still, staring at the ceiling, listening to the wind howl through cracks she couldn't see. Somewhere deep in the night, a sound echoed through the house. A sharp, deliberate thud. Mark shot up, heart racing. "Did you hear that?" His voice was a hoarse whisper. Evelyn's eyes were wide, shimmering in the moonlight, filtering through the curtains. "Yes, it came from downstairs." They listened, straining their ears, but the sound didn't come again. Mark forced a laugh. Probably just the old wood, or the wind, but neither of them believed it. Still, they stayed frozen, sleep forgotten, waiting for dawn. Morning light brought little comfort. Over breakfast, both tried to pretend the night hadn't happened. Evelyn forced a smile. "I'm being silly. The mind plays tricks, right?" She wanted Mark to agree. She needed him to. He did, too quickly. Of course. Old house, foreign country, it's natural. But his hands trembled slightly as he buttered his toast. He avoided her eyes. Trying to shake the tension, they decided to explore the house more. Maybe, they thought, if they made it familiar, the fear would vanish. Room by room they wandered, until they reached the cellar door. It was tucked away, almost hidden, a heavy oak door with rusted hinges. Mark hesitated, hand hovering above the iron latch. Evelyn gave a nervous laugh. "He said not to bother. It's just storage, remember?" But that made it worse, didn't it? Why mention the cellar at all? Mark pushed it open. The air that escaped was stale, thick, almost sweet. A smell neither of them could place, but instantly hated. A narrow stone staircase spiraled down into darkness. Mark fumbled for a light. None. Evelyn stood back, arms crossed, visibly shaken. "Let's not, please." But Mark, pride bruised, forced a grin. 5 minutes, just to prove it's nothing. He grabbed his phone, flashlight on, and descended. Evelyn waited, hugging herself. The cellar was colder than it should have been. Stone walls slick with moisture, the floor uneven, cracked. Old tools lay scattered, rusted saws, chains, a rusted wheelbarrow. But it was the far corner that froze him. Scratched into the stone, nearly worn away by time, were words, in English. I can still hear them. Mark stumbled back, his phone nearly slipping from his hands. "Jesus Christ," he muttered. "Mark?" Evelyn's voice echoed down. "What is it?" He lied. "Nothing, just junk. I'm coming up." But his face was pale as bone when he emerged, breath shallow. Evelyn saw it immediately. "What's down there?" "Nothing, just old stuff." Neither of them mentioned the cellar again, but the house felt different after that. Heavier, darker, as if they'd woken something up. The next night came too fast. Despite the bright Spanish sun, the house seemed darker, as if the walls themselves absorbed the light. Evelyn grew quiet, distant. She caught herself staring at the cellar door more than once, biting her lip until it bled. "Let's just leave tomorrow," she whispered over dinner. "We don't owe anyone anything. It's just not right here." Mark wanted to agree, but something in him, pride or maybe plain stubbornness, wouldn't let him. "It's fine. One more night. It's all in our heads, Evie." But he couldn't look at her when he said it. That night, the house didn't wait for them to sleep. It started with a faint scratching, soft at first, like mice in the walls, but it grew louder. Then the whispers came. Low, breathy voices, impossible to make out but impossible to ignore. Evelyn sat up, frozen. "Mark, do you hear it?" "Yes." His voice cracked. They pressed their ears to the wall. The whispers danced, overlapping, arguing, pleading. And then one clear sentence slipped through, cold and heavy. "Why are you in my house?" Evelyn gasped, stumbling back. Mark, we need to go. Now, right now." Mark nodded. "Grab your things." They didn't care about leaving food, clothes, or the money they paid. Something primal took over, the need to escape. They rushed down the stairs, their footsteps echoing unnaturally loud. The front door was just steps away. That's when they saw it. The cellar door was wide open. The smell hit them first. Rancid, sweet, suffocating. A smell of rot and despair. And from the open door, a cold air bled out, colder than anything natural. "Don't look," Mark choked. "Just run." But Evelyn was rooted. Her eyes wide, she stared into the black pit below. "There's someone down there." Her voice was barely a whisper. I see him." Mark grabbed her, yanking her toward the door. "No, Ev, there's nothing. Let's go." They burst outside, gulping the cold night air like drowning people. But the darkness outside wasn't safer. The trees, twisted wrong, seemed to lean toward them. The wind carried faint whispers that had no source. Evelyn sobbed, clinging to Mark. "Where do we go? Where? There's nothing around." "The car. Just the car. Get to the car." They ran, tripping, falling, bleeding, until the car appeared like a salvation. Mark fumbled the keys, hands trembling, heart hammering. The engine roared to life, and the headlights sliced through the darkness. But for one brief second, in the rearview mirror, Mark saw him. A man, pale, sunken eyes, mouth hanging open in a silent scream, standing at the edge of the road, watching them drive away. Mark didn't tell Evelyn. He just drove, and drove, until the house was miles behind them. They found a hotel an hour away, ugly, cheap, but full of life. People, laughter, noise. It was heaven. Neither of them slept. Morning light felt like a gift from God. That's when Evelyn, still shaking, said, "I need to know what that place was. I need to know." Mark, too tired to argue, nodded. They found a local cafe with Wi-Fi, ordered coffee with trembling hands, and started searching. It didn't take long. The house, La Casa del Acantilado, had a story, one not mentioned in the listing. Built in the 1700s by a wealthy merchant with a dark past. Locals spoke of disappearances, travelers, servants. The cellar was rumored to have been used for rituals, dark ones, blood offerings. The merchant's family vanished one night, every one of them. Only the house remained. Locals never bought it, never stepped foot inside. They let it rot, until someone decided tourists wouldn't know better. Evelyn stared at the screen, tears streaming down her face. "We slept there. We slept in their tomb." Mark couldn't argue. His throat burned with bile. "We're never speaking of this again." And they didn't. Years later, they never told the full story. Not to their children, not to friends, not to anyone. How could they? Who would believe it? But sometimes, when Mark woke sweating in the night, he remembered the face in the mirror. Sometimes Evelyn would flinch at the sound of wind scratching the windows. They moved, built new memories, tried to forget. But deep down, they knew the truth. Some houses remember. And not everything stays buried. Some memories, no matter how desperately you try to forget them, never really leave you. They linger, like the aftertaste of bad wine or the faint scent of something burning. For Daniel, it was their honeymoon. What was supposed to be the start of forever turned into the one thing neither he nor Emily could ever talk about. Not with each other, not with anyone, not even alone, in the dark, when memories scream the loudest. They picked Romania on a whim. Emily, ever the dreamer, was enchanted by the idea of misty mountains and crumbling castles. Something different, she'd said, her green eyes gleaming. Everyone goes to the Maldives or Santorini. Let's go somewhere. Real. Somewhere with stories buried under the earth. Daniel had laughed, pulling her close. You mean somewhere haunted? Exactly, she whispered against his lips. They landed in Bucharest, spent 3 blissful days roaming through old churches and candlelit restaurants. Daniel still remembered how the city smelled: freshly baked bread, exhaust fumes, and that faint scent of rain on cobblestones. Everything felt like a dream, until they left the city behind. The mountains, Emily's real magic, were waiting. They rented a car, a battered grey Dacia with frayed seats and a dashboard light that flickered like it was scared of its own shadow. The plan was simple: drive north to Brasov, then deeper into the Carpathians. Daniel had laughed when the clerk warned him about the roads. They bite, the man had said with a grin that didn't reach his eyes. By late afternoon, the sky bruised purple and orange. They should have been sipping wine at a cozy mountain inn. But somewhere between the fading GPS signal and Emily's insistence that, "We don't need maps, Daniel," they missed their turn. The GPS screen turned pale blue, searching, recalculating, failing. Daniel cursed under his breath. "It's fine," he muttered. "There's another road. Look." He pointed at the thin grey line on the map, barely visible. Emily squinted. "That doesn't even look like a road. It's a shortcut." God, how he hated that word now. The shortcut wound through a dense forest, the trees so close they clawed at the sides of the car. The light faded fast, the way it does in the mountains, until it felt like driving through the throat of some great beast. Every so often, they'd pass a crooked sign. The letters faded and unreadable. "We should turn around," Emily whispered, her voice thin. She was leaning forward, knuckles white, as she gripped the dashboard. "I don't like this, Dan." "It's fine," Daniel said, forcing a laugh. "Probably just a small village ahead. We'll ask for directions." But even as he said it, he didn't believe it. And then, as if summoned by his words, the village appeared, slumped against the hills, half swallowed by mist. A cluster of houses with sagging roofs and boarded-up windows. Smoke crawled from a single chimney, slow and thin like it didn't want to be seen. "Jesus," Emily whispered. "It looks abandoned." Daniel slowed the car. The air felt heavier here, thick with the smell of damp earth and something metallic. Blood, his mind supplied. He shook it off. A figure emerged from the mist, a woman, impossibly pale, standing at the side of the road. Her hair hung in wet, tangled strands, her dress nothing but rags. She stared straight at them, unmoving, unblinking. "Daniel, don't," Emily whispered. But he was already rolling the window down. "Excuse me, we're a bit lost. Could you tell us how to get back to the main road?" The woman didn't speak. Her eyes were wrong, no pupils, just milky white, reflecting nothing. Daniel felt a chill crawl up his spine. Then slowly she raised a hand. A single bony finger pointed down a dirt road swallowed by trees. "There," she whispered, her voice like dead leaf rustling. "Thank you," Daniel croaked, heart hammering. He drove off fast, hands trembling against the wheel. Emily was staring at him, pale and furious. "What the hell was that, Daniel?" "I don't know," he gasped. She's probably just sick. Her eyes," Emily choked out. "Did you see her eyes? I don't want to talk about it." And neither of them did. But the silence was worse. It felt like something unseen had climbed into the car with them. something cold and patient. As they drove down that dirt road, Daniel swore he saw movement in the trees, shadows slipping between trunks, whispers he couldn't quite catch. And always, that thickening fog swallowing the world behind them. The road narrowed until it barely deserved the name. Gnarled trees arched overhead, their branches clawing at the sky like desperate hands. Somewhere far off, they heard the slow creak of wood, a swing maybe, or a door. The sound was maddening in the heavy quiet. Emily clutched his arm. "Daniel, something's wrong. I want to go back. I don't care if we sleep in the car. Turn around." Daniel opened his mouth to agree, when the headlights caught something ahead. A bridge. It looked ancient, stone crumbling, the center sagging as if it barely remembered how to hold its own weight. Below it, a black river crawled lazily, reflecting nothing. The air stank of rot. "You've got to be kidding me," Daniel muttered. But there was no space to turn. Either they crossed or they reversed, blind through the woods. Emily was shaking her head. "No, Daniel, that's not safe. That bridge, it's fine. We'll go slow." He edged the car forward, the tires groaning as they rolled onto the stone. Halfway across, the car shuddered. A deep, low crack echoed in the night. "Dan, stop!" Emily screamed. He froze. For a second, he swore the bridge beneath them was breathing, rising and falling like the chest of something alive. Then it was gone. Silence. Stillness. He pushed on. On the other side, the forest seemed darker, the trees leaning closer. Daniel let out a shaky laugh, but it sounded wrong. Hollow. "We made it," he whispered. Emily didn't answer. She was staring straight ahead, lips moving silently in prayer. The road beyond the bridge was worse, if you could even call it a road. It narrowed to little more than a trail, muddy and uneven, with tree roots curling out like skeletal hands desperate to pull something down. The fog thickened until the headlights barely pierced more than a few feet ahead, making the world beyond the windshield feel erased. For the first time in his life, Daniel truly regretted everything. The trip, the detour, every decision that had led them to this place. His hands ached from gripping the wheel, his knuckles pale, trembling. "We're turning around," he said suddenly, voice cracking. "I don't care anymore. This is stupid." But when he glanced at Emily, she was staring out the side window, face pale, lips trembling. We can't," she whispered. "Daniel, look." He followed her gaze. Through the trees, half shrouded in mist, were shapes, people, dozens of them, standing perfectly still, watching. They weren't moving, not breathing, just there. Men, women, children. Some in clothes so old they looked like they belonged in a history book. Faces pale, eyes empty. All turned toward the car, Daniel's breath caught in his throat. Jesus Christ. "What do they want?" Emily's voice cracked. "Why are they just standing there?" Daniel forced himself to keep driving because stopping felt like giving up, like inviting something in. "Don't look at them," he whispered. "Just don't." But it was impossible. The watchers were everywhere now, flanking the road like silent sentries, and every few hundred feet the car shuddered as if something unseen brushed against it. Emily sobbed softly, shaking her head. "I swear one of them smiled at me. Daniel, I saw it. Their mouth, too wide, teeth." She gagged, covering her mouth. "Stop, please." Daniel's voice broke, almost a whimper. It was then they saw the lights, warm golden lights glowing weakly through the fog. A building, An inn. It looked ancient but intact. A 2-story wooden structure with peeling paint, slanted windows, and a hanging sign so worn it was impossible to read. But there was something about those lights, flickering, alive, that clawed at Daniel's desperate mind. "There," he gasped. "A place, shelter." Emily nodded, too broken to argue. I don't care. Anywhere but this road." They pulled up slowly, the car crunching over loose gravel. As the engine died, the silence roared in around them. Daniel sat frozen, staring at the building, half expecting it to vanish like a mirage. But it stayed. The door creaked open before they could even move. A man appeared, tall, impossibly thin, with sharp features and slicked back hair that glistened like oil. He smiled, revealing yellowed teeth. "Evening," he said, voice unnaturally smooth. "Looks like you two are a bit lost." Daniel couldn't speak. Emily found her voice first. "Please. Our car. We need a room. Just, please." The man's grin widened. "Of course, we've been expecting you." That line, it made Daniel's skin crawl. "What did you say?" But the man was already turning. "Come, it's cold out." They followed him inside, too tired, too broken to question it. The inn smelled of damp wood and something else. Something sweet, cloying, rotting. The lobby was empty, not a single guest. But the fire crackled warmly, shadows dancing along the walls. For a moment, Daniel almost felt safe. "Your room is ready," the man smiled. "End of the hall, room 7. No keys, no check-in. Just that same oily grin." Daniel swallowed hard. We didn't book anything." The man's eyes gleamed. "Number. But we knew you'd come." The hallway was narrow, too narrow, like the walls had slowly closed in over the years. The wallpaper peeled in long, curling strips, revealing wood that looked blackened, almost burned. The floor creaked beneath every step, the sound unnervingly loud in the suffocating silence. No other doors lined the hall, just the one at the end. Room 7. Daniel stopped. His breath was shallow, his mouth dry. "Emily, I don't like this." Emily didn't speak. Her eyes were glassy, wide, as if she wasn't fully present. "Let's just go inside. Lock the door. Sleep. We'll leave at dawn." Her voice was flat, rehearsed, like she'd already given up hope of anything normal. Daniel nodded weakly, his stomach twisting in knots. The door opened with a low groan, hinges screaming in protest. The room was simple. A bed, too large for the space, covered in faded sheets. A dresser with a cracked mirror. Heavy curtains drawn tight over the window, though no light dared to sneak in from outside. And then the smell hit them. Not overpowering. No, that would have been easier. It was subtle, like something had died in the walls years ago, forgotten and rotting quietly. Sweet, thick, and ever-present. Emily shuddered, covering her nose. We can't stay here." Daniel was about to agree when the door creaked shut behind them. No slam, just a soft, final click. He turned, heart racing, and tried the handle. Locked. There was no keyhole. Panic bubbled in his chest. No, this isn't right." Emily backed into a corner, hugging herself. "Why does it feel like we're not alone?" That's when Daniel noticed it. The mirror. It reflected the room perfectly. Except for one thing. There was someone standing behind them. Daniel spun so fast he nearly tripped over the rug. But there was no one. Just the two of them, hearts pounding loud enough to drown out thought. He turned back to the mirror, empty. Whatever he'd seen was gone. I saw someone," he gasped. "There was... Emily, I swear, there was a man behind us." Emily's breath hitched, Don't say that. Just stop. She grabbed the edge of the curtain, yanking it open. But instead of moonlight or the faint outline of trees, there was nothing. Just black, pure, suffocating black. The kind that didn't just block light, it devoured it. Emily whimpered. "There's no outside, Daniel." "Where's the outside?" Daniel staggered back, hands trembling. This isn't real. It can't be. We're dreaming. We're still in the car, asleep." A knock. Software barely there. But it froze the air in the room. They both stared at the door. Another knock. 3 slow, deliberate taps. Emily's teeth chattered. "Don't answer it." Daniel shook his head, backing away until his back hit the cold dresser. "I won't." The knock stopped. Silence, and then a voice, low, smooth. The man from the lobby. "You forgot to sign the guest book." Daniel's knees nearly gave out. No. The voice was right on the other side of the door. "Come now. Don't be rude. We have to know who's staying." Emily sobbed. "Daniel, what do we do?" He glanced around wildly, eyes landing on the window, if it even was a window anymore. We break it. We get out. We run." Emily nodded, wiping her face. Okay, do it." Daniel grabbed the wooden chair, hoisting it high, then slammed it against the glass. The sound was sickening, like hitting stone. The glass didn't shatter. It didn't even crack. The chair snapped in two, splinters exploding in all directions. The voice sighed. "No use, Mr. Collins." Daniel froze. "How do you know my name?" The man laughed, a low, guttural sound. "We know everything about you, Daniel, Emily." Daniel's chest tightened until he could barely breathe. He pressed his back against the cold wall, eyes darting toward Emily, who looked smaller now, fragile, almost childlike, her face buried in her hands. "How do you know our names?" he croaked, his throat so dry the words barely came out. The voice chuckled again. "You checked in, didn't you? The moment you crossed the bridge, you belonged to us." Daniel's stomach flipped. "What the hell do you want?" Silence, then soft scratching, right outside the door, the sound of pen on paper. Writing. Emily whimpered. What is that?" Daniel could barely speak. "He's writing." The voice spoke again, calm, patient. "The guest book needs names, all of them, for the records. You understand, don't you?" "No," Daniel choked out. "I don't. Let us go." The voice exhaled, long and slow, like steam hissing from an old pipe. "You're free to leave, once the page is full." Emily lifted her head, her voice shaking. "What page? What do you mean?" Without thinking, Daniel yanked open the dresser drawer. Dust billowed out, but inside, resting perfectly centered, was a large, leather-bound book. The cover was cracked, black as tar, and stained with something dark. His hands trembled as he touched it. It was warm, too warm, like something alive. No, Daniel, don't open it," Emily begged. But he already had. The pages inside were filled with names, hundreds, thousands, written in neat, perfect cursive. Dates beside them, stretching back centuries. Daniel's eyes scanned the list, heart hammering. The most recent name, at the very bottom, was still wet. "Daniel Collins, March 18th, 2025. His hands flew back like he'd been burned. No, I didn't. How?" Emily backed into the corner, sobbing. "He already wrote your name. He already..." Daniel stared at the book, his mind spiraling. "We're not getting out, are we?" The air shifted. Cold, heavy. And just like that, the door creaked open, slowly, silently. Daniel's head snapped toward it. No, stay back." but there was no one in the doorway, just darkness and the smell of earth, old earth, graves. "Come see," the voice called from the dark. "It's rude to ignore your host." Emily was frozen, shaking her head. Don't go, Daniel, please." Daniel hesitated, but something pulled at him, that invisible thread of morbid curiosity. Against every screaming instinct, he stepped forward, past the door, into the hall. Emily followed, sobbing softly. "I can't let you go alone." The hallway had changed, no longer narrow. It was wide now, unnaturally wide, with doors lining both sides. Each door was numbered, each slightly ajar, and from each room, whispers. Daniel staggered forward, peeking into the first room. Bodies, people, sitting silently on chairs, staring at the walls. Eyes glazed, skin pale, thin like paper stretched over bone. Some wore modern clothes, some old, ancient. Their mouths moved, but no sound escaped. "My God!" Daniel gasped. "They're the names, the guests, the watchers. They hadn't just been outside. They were here, each room, a guest." Emily sobbed. "They're trapped, aren't they?" The voice echoed down the hall. "Not trapped, belonging. This is their home now, as it will be yours." Daniel staggered back. No, we're not staying. You can't." The ground shook, and the walls pulsed like a heartbeat. "You crossed the bridge," the voice growled. "There is no leaving now." Emily screamed as hands, white, bone-thin hands, slipped out of the open doorways, reaching for them, clawing. Daniel grabbed her wrist. "Run! Run!" They bolted, racing past the reaching hands, past the staring faces. The hall stretched impossibly long, the exit a flickering pinprick of light. Daniel's lungs burned. We're not dying here," Emily screamed. "The book! You left the book," Daniel growled. "Forget the book." But in his gut, he knew. The book was the key. They'd never leave while their names lived in those pages. They ran until their legs screamed, lungs burning in their chests. The hallway seemed endless, bending and twisting, the walls warping like something alive, breathing, pulsing. Every door they passed was wide open now, the dead-eyed guests spilling into the hall, whispering, reaching. Emily stumbled, her ankle twisting. She hit the floor hard, sobbing. I can't. Daniel, I can't." Daniel skidded to a stop, grabbing her. Get up, Emily." She was crying so hard she couldn't speak. "We're going to die here." "No," he growled, hoisting her up. "No, we're not. Move." Somewhere behind them, that voice chuckled, louder now, surrounding them. "You run, but there's nowhere to go. You checked in, Daniel." Suddenly, the hallway spat them out into the lobby. It looked normal. The fire crackled. The desk sat empty. The front door was right there, wooden, solid, familiar. Daniel's heart surged. "The door, Emily! The door!" They bolted. Daniel grabbed the handle and pulled. Locked. Of course, it was locked. He threw his shoulder against it, screaming. "Open!" From the darkness behind the desk, the tall man appeared, smiling that same horrible, too-wide grin. "You can't leave without signing out." Daniel spun. "What do you want?" The man's face twisted, the flesh stretching unnaturally. "A trade. That's the rule, Mr. Collins. You can leave, but a name must stay." Daniel froze, his breath caught in his throat. "A name?" The man nodded slowly. "The book binds. Blood and ink. You signed. Now, replace your name." Emily whimpered. "You mean someone else? We have to... What? Sacrifice someone?" The man laughed. "Your words, not mine." Daniel felt his stomach turn. "You're insane." The man shrugged. It is what it is. No one leaves the inn without a soul to replace them. For a moment, there was only silence. Daniel stared at Emily, her face pale, tear-streaked, eyes wide with horror. He knew what the man was suggesting. Find someone. Write their name. Leave them behind. Who? Daniel rasped. Who would we even... The man's grin widened. The village. There are always strays, forgotten souls, lost wanderers. You've seen them. Emily shook her head violently. Number, we can't. We can't do that, Daniel. Then stay, the man whispered. Be part of the walls. Join the others. It's peaceful, quiet. Eternal Daniel's head spun. Images of the pale watchers, the empty eyes, the endless rooms filled with the lost. Number Emily gripped his arm, her voice barely a whisper. I don't want to die here, but I can't damn someone else either. The man leaned forward. Tick, tock, decide. Daniel's mind raced. There had to be another way. Then he remembered the bridge, the crossing. That was where it all changed. That was the threshold. He glared at the man. What if we destroy the bridge? For the first time, the man's smile faltered. You won't make it. You'll never reach it. Daniel's pulse spiked. That's it. That's the way out. He grabbed Emily's hand. We run. One last time. The man's voice echoed behind them, cold as the grave. I'll see you soon. Daniel. They didn't look back. Daniel pulled Emily through the lobby, shoving the heavy door hard enough to splinter the wood. Somehow, it gave. They burst into the night. The fog swallowed them instantly, but this time, they knew where to run. The road appeared, narrow, twisting, lined with silent figures. The watchers, hundreds of them now, staring. Emily sobbed. They're going to stop us. Daniel, they're going to... No! He roared. We keep running. Don't stop. Don't look. The bridge loomed ahead, broken, crumbling, impossibly far. The figures closed in, their pale hands reaching, their mouths opening wide in silent screams. Daniel could see the bridge collapsing piece by piece as if the world itself was trying to trap them. The black river below bubbled like tar. Emily, now! He screamed. They leaped, the world twisted, light and dark tearing apart. For a moment, Daniel felt weightless. Then, silence. He opened his eyes. They were lying on the gravel road, gasping, trembling. Behind them, nothing. No inn, no bridge. Just empty open road under a starless sky. Emily sobbed, clinging to him. We're out. Daniel, we're out. Daniel held her, staring at the spot where the bridge had been. We made it. But even as he said it, he wasn't sure. Because somewhere, deep in his pocket, something shifted. He reached in slowly and felt the leather cover of a book. The guest book, still with him, still warm.